Okay. Thank you very much for joining me today for afternoon tea, Jennifer.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's okay. So my first question to you is, what was your childhood like?
It was actually really very lovely. When I was thinking about this question, I was like, what was my childhood like? It was really very lovely. I'm an only child, and my mom's a kindergarten teacher, so great birthday parties, and I was very involved with, my parents had an active social life, so sometimes I got dragged along to that. And, I come from, even though I'm an only child, my mom is part of a really big family. And so there were always cousins around, and I'm the oldest of 11 cousins. And it was actually a really lovely childhood. Very busy, I will say. um, my mom believed in what I would now call overprogramming, perhaps.
Mm.
But, I was, in music lessons and participated in different orchestras and stuff like that, and dance and Girl Scouts and, like all the things. So I was constantly coming and going, and it gave me such a great foundation. But it also, I realized into my like 20s, I was like, well, no wonder I don't know how to rest. Like we didn't really like that idea of like we're just gonna chill out. Like that didn't happen much. So um so my parents and I have all had to learn to do that a little bit more.
And so did you go to your mum's kindergarten school, or did you go straight to school?
No, I actually went to a different school. My mom was a bilingual kindergarten teacher, and she taught primarily in the really underrepresented low income areas to teach. And most of her students were immigrant children. I'm
Mhm.
in Texas, right? So there's a lot of immigration from Central and South America, and that was the bulk of her population. And she very purposely wanted me, not because of that, but because of just sort of independence and separation, she wanted me at a different school.
Mhm.
And so I went to my neighborhood school. She taught at a different school, and it was like that throughout. So
Mhm.
now I did go up there during the summers and on that kind of thing, and I could put up a bulletin board. I can do a grade book with the best of them.
So did you enjoy school?
I did. I did. I can't say that like there was anything in particular that I loved or hated about it.
Mhm.
Um, I was a good average student. There was nothing that was, until later on in high school, there was nothing that was a huge struggle, but nothing was super easy either.
Mhm.
Right? So I would do the work and, do my homework and do my studying, and I would get pretty decent grades. But I always enjoyed it, and I think I enjoyed it more for the socialization at the time than I did for the school. Um, but once I got to high school, I really enjoyed the learning part of it because I got to choose my classes differently then.
Yeah. So what was your favorite subject? School.
I didn't have one until high school,
Mm.
because I was always pretty good at math and science,
Yeah.
but I didn't necessarily love them.
Mhm.
Other than like in labs, I always liked the experiential piece of it, which I know Simone can completely appreciate, as a science teacher. But when I took psychology in high school, all of a sudden I was like, this is my love. This is, that's when all of a sudden I was like, that sort of ignited that little flame of like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So you never had any problems at school, not even at the high school?
not not anything significant.
No.
I mean, there was always the, teen girl drama and dating drama, that kind of thing that can happen.
Mm.
Um, but nothing in particular that was, severely impactful, I wouldn't say.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, I made different choices. At some point I was so busy with my extracurricular activities and with school that I had to make the choice because my grades were suffering, my health was suffering, all of that, and it was like, okay, something has to give. And so I had to just drop some of my advanced classes and go into kind of more academic level classes to be able to kind of balance that workload. because I went to an international baccalaureate school, and so in the honors classes, the workload was pretty intense.
Mhm.
And so and on top of that, I was in the foreign language program. And so it was just, I had to learn to juggle a little bit differently then to balance my time and my energy a little bit better.
Mm. Mhm. And so you left school, I presume, at 16, 18,
18.
18, and then did you go on to further education?
I did. I started at Southwestern, which is here in Texas. All of my schools were in Texas. Um, a tiny little school, and absolutely loved it, except that I felt claustrophobic. It was about half the size of my high school
Mm.
and in a tiny little town. So I loved the education, but I was like, these people won't. And I lived on campus. Almost everybody lived on campus. So I'm like, these people won't go away.
Mm.
And and I wanted to change my direction with psychology a little bit. Um, for now looking back, really silly reasons. Because I was going towards a child and family psychology perspective, and with idea of getting my PhD and going straight through. But then in this very, like, again, looking back, it seems so silly. I had this thought of, because being educated and having my own career was very much a part of my upbringing, but so was being a mother and
Mm.
being married. And so in my head, if I was going to go straight through to my doctorate, I was going to be 28 by the time I came out. And then how was I ever going to, in a reasonable amount of time, you know, be married and have babies? As if you can't date when you're in school. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense now. But I decided to go a different route,
Mm.
looking at kind of more the industrial organizational psychology, and then ended up getting my master's in human resources, which is the business side of IO psychology. And I'm really going that route because then I could get out faster. It didn't help me get married or have babies any sooner, as it turned out.
Mm.
But
So,
I mean, at 19 and 20, like,
yeah,
it's a different perspective on life.
that's it. So you left further education, um, and then did you get a job or did you go straight into setting up your own business?
No, so I got a job working and I was actually working all the way through graduate school and in human resources, and then got an amazing opportunity to go into a rotation program at an engineering company where I got to experience a lot of different pieces of human resources, and that's really where I kind of started honing my training on kind of looking at efficiency both in your space and your time and how that actually works with humans, right? So not looking at it in the box of just those pieces. But I also got a tremendous amount of international experience because I was doing international HR predominantly.
Mm.
And so I traveled to Africa, I've traveled, in several places in Europe, and really got exposed to a ton of different cultures, which I absolutely loved at a very young age.
Mm.
Um, and went from that, massive corporate world, left that. I thought I was going to retire there. Like, I loved the company, thought I was going to retire there. Most people did. Um, and awkwardly was sexually harassed by my HR director
Mm.
and then blackballed because I reported it. So, which is kind of mind blowing when you think about what we did, right?
Mm.
And so got an amazing opportunity to go work in a high tech startup. This was in the 90s and they were everywhere at the time. And really elevated my career, worked like I have never worked before and absolutely loved it. Um, and had to learn again in the midst of it some balance. And when I left that role is when I started my first company doing HR consulting, because I knew that I still wanted to work, but I also needed kind of a vacation because I was exhausted. We were working about 90 hours a week and it was crazy.
Mm.
And so, um, and we were all doing it.
Mm.
So Although I can't ultimately complain because that's where I met my husband.
Mm.
He wasn't my husband then, but um, but 20 years later we ended up getting together. So
Yeah, yeah. So you set up your HR business,
mhm.
your first one.
Yep.
So then did you sell that and then set up another one?
Yeah. So the irony is that I worked the majority of companies that I worked with were small startups.
Mm.
And I loved it. I love the energy and I loved the dynamic environment that they have where, like there's just an intensity to the work you're doing as a startup. And absolutely loved it, but it was exhausting. I had several, I mean, I've probably got, I don't know, 50 or $60,000 in essentially unpaid invoices that will never be paid because those companies ended up folding.
Mm.
And so, I mean, and I am in my 20s, right, doing this. And so, a lot of hard lessons in business were learned there. Um, but the irony is that I was like, you know what? I want to go work somewhere where I can be surrounded by other people who can continue to grow me, right? Because when you're on your own, you're only willing to sort of stretch so much, right? But when you're in a bigger organization, you've got mentors and somebody can throw something on your desk that's really going to stretch you, but you're not in it alone.
Mm.
That felt intriguing. And so I left the instability of working for myself and working for startups to go work for a company that had been around for 100 years doing amazing work, Arthur Anderson,
Mm.
about 9 months before it all crashed. Um, so, so it was a little bit ironic that I went someplace to be stable and then it wasn't. So, um, and worked in consulting after that, even after I left that. And then that's when I went out on my own again, doing both HR. And then I added in the professional organizing at that point because HR can feel really heavy. And especially working for small companies, I was their HR everything, their benefits and compensation and the hiring and the firing and all of that. And I feel very responsible in that role. And so I wanted to do something fun. I wanted to do something that when people saw me show up, I wasn't the Grim Reaper because for most of my small businesses, I was working virtually until I was there to fire somebody.
Yeah.
And so so I did. I became kind of the Grim Reaper when I would show up. And so that's how I got into professional organizing. It was a fairly new thing at the time. And I mean, this was almost 20 years ago. And I did it really just because it was fun for me,
Mm.
and really just started to see the transformation that it could provide people, and that, people who were of, an average living, earning an average living could afford to do this, and that they realized they could afford to get that help. And that, we just don't all come by it naturally, we don't all come out of the womb knowing how to drive or how to organize or anything else. So that was really fun to be able to really do that. And I guess it was about 3 years ago now that I officially left HR behind, completely let go of my certification and everything, um, and really just embraced the organizing piece full time.
Ah. So now you're organizing and that is your niche market now. Is that?
It is my sweet spot. I mean, can I work with anybody? Yes. My sweet spot is to work with women who are struggling, whether it's from a transition, divorce, marriage, birth, whatever it is, right? Or chronic illness, whether it's theirs or somebody that they're caring for, because we tend to have this like, we have to do it all. I mean, I know you see this every day, right? And again, we don't come out with these skills. We're expected, kind of, and I think certainly generationally, certain
Mm.
generations are expected to, like, well, the women are supposed to be the ones to organize and to coordinate things and to make the house beautiful and all of that, and take care of the kids and take care of the house and take, all the things. Oh yeah, and have their own life and business and all of that. And then you throw a transition in there, you throw chronic illness in there of themselves or a loved one, and then you don't even know who the heck you are anymore, and the struggle is so deep that it's hard to dig out,
Yeah.
and hard to feel confident that you know anything and you even know who you are.
That's that. That's that. And has the pandemic affected your business, or has it increased people coming to you? Because some people, the pandemic has affected it by there being less clients. Others, it has increased their clients. What has it done for you?
Well, it it pretty much tanked my business because my business previously was 100% in person.
Mm-hmm.
And I already had the work going and the vision and all of that built out that 2020 was going to be more virtual, so that
Mm,
I could have a broader reach, so that I could meet more people, and I could reach and share that message with more people, that, you know, you don't have to be stuck in the struggle. And I just wasn't intending to maybe do it so fast.
mm.
You know, it was gonna be sort of woven in over the course of the year. The one good thing I will say that came out of it initially was that I've been doing some test marketing even in the fall of 2019 and early 2020 of doing virtual organizing, whether individually or group, and people didn't get it. They didn't understand, well, how can you over Zoom help me organize my closet? And now it's just a known thing. Like, we can do anything on Zoom,
Yeah.
right? So that piece has been really super helpful. And, you know, and I've been able to get the reach that I initially wanted, and to be able to grow my business. And yeah, the time piece has come up more and more, because time is more ambiguous when you're stuck at home,
Mm,
right? You're not going out and meeting somebody for lunch and then you have space on either side, right? For yourself to listen to a podcast or relax or whatever, right? But now you're just going from one to the other to the other.
yeah.
And you're in your space more. So, you know, if you're not happy with your space, if your time is feeling really crowded, well then, you know, so there certainly have been quite a few people who have reached out because of those challenges that have come from the pandemic.
Mm, mm. So if you look back over your life, is there anything that you would have changed knowing what you know now?
Um, I think the only thing that I would have changed is I wish I had known more. So, you know, I've suffered for years with endometriosis, and for the most part, I'm symptom free now after, you know, 10 surgeries and lots of yuck. Um, I wish I had known 25, 30 years ago the more natural ways of handling it.
Mm,
And I wish I had known that it was okay to not constantly self-sacrifice, because I think, you know, and again, some of that's generational, right? But that, you know, there's a difference between self-sacrificing and being resilient,
mm,
right? And that, you know what, it's okay to take time off. It's okay to say no to that social thing or that work thing, because I just feel like crap, right? As opposed to just pushing through and still not showing up as your best self,
mm.
right? Um, but I think, you know, having that resiliency, having that tenacity to, you know what, like I've been at 10 out of 10 on a, you know, pain scale, and, you know, shown up and delivered a speech, and, you know, worked with clients, and, you know, done all sorts of things. I mean, I've driven myself to the emergency room at least 3 or 4 times. And so, um, you know, so there's something to be said for that resiliency and that tenacity, maybe stubbornness. But, um, I wish I had known that there were other ways.
Mm, mm, mm. Okay. So how can anybody on the broadcast help you, or listening to the recording help you?
Well, I think my biggest focus right now, I'm going to be launching a sort of newish program in the fall, and, you know, more will be coming out about that later in July. But right now, I'm more than anything, I'm looking for speaking opportunities, whether it's on podcasts or directly with folks like you, or in coaching groups. I do a lot of work with coaches, um, to support their students to be able to show up better so they can do better work on their programs. And so I think if anybody's got any of those kinds of opportunities to where you know that there are women there who are struggling for one reason or another, and would want to clear that chaos, find the clarity, and really move themselves forward a little bit better and with more confidence, then I would love the opportunity to speak with them.
Mm-hmm. So if they need your help, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, I am all over social media.
Yeah.
And the best way to find me is cultivating you, YOU, and you can do /links, LINKS, and that will give you all of the links to schedule a call with me, social media, all of the things are all right there. Or even just cultivating-you.com.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you can find me there.
Good.
Thank
So
you so much.
has anybody on the broadcast got any questions that they'd like to ask Jennifer?
Ooh, I do. Oh. Okay. So this whole organizing systems, all of that stuff, like, did that like start in the childhood? Were you like the weird child with the Legos? Like all the green Legos would go here, all the yellow would go here, or like when did that come? And like how did that manifest?
No, and it's a funny question, and I'm grateful and disappointed that I don't have pictures. So my mom being a kindergarten teacher was generally fairly organized because everything had to have its place in a kindergarten classroom, right? Because otherwise it's truly chaos. And so our home was very much like that. And it was like that until I was in about probably 7th or 8th grade in my room. And then I'm not sure what alien took over, but my room was kind of a disaster. Now, it was an organized disaster. There were paths. I knew which piles were dirty clothes and which piles were clean clothes. But it was, yeah, no, I was just like, I was generally organized with my schoolwork and stuff because I had to be, because I was so busy with other things. But and my mom is really good at time management, and we joke that she's a 100-year planner. And so that piece has been woven in my whole life. But the physical organization, yeah, no, it I think it was in there because she taught me that, but it was not always how it came out. And in fact, there was one day she was done asking me to clean my room, and she warned me proper, and she came in with trash bags and picked up my room, put them all in the trash bags, not minding what shoes went where or what went where, what was dirty, what was not dirty. 5 trash bags, 5 like big trash like the kind you would use outside for leaves, not a cute kitchen trash bag, right? And I had to buy them back for $50 a piece. I have no idea still to this day, I have no idea where she hid them. She still won't tell me. I'm convinced they were like at a neighbor's down the street, so I couldn't find them because I went hunting for them. And I couldn't just look in them and figure out what I wanted to, no. I would have to give her the money, and then within, 12 hours, a bag would show up. I didn't get to pick the bag or anything. So yeah, needless to say, my room was clean after that. So yeah, no, it just happened. And when I was in college, I was living in a dorm with somebody else, and I swear I had only messy roommates. But I'm like, but this is like my living room and my bedroom and all my stuff, right? And so I felt like being really neat and tidy there really made a difference. And then when I was single, it was easy, right? Because nobody else moved my stuff. So if I put it where it belonged, then it was just still there. But my house is not full of organized people, so just me. So it's okay. But I mean, yeah, I mean it's, and you also learn the difference between organized and tidy. And so so that's important. Like I know where to find everything in my house, even if it's not always tidy, right? So, because I live with two chaotic people. So, but yeah, I mean, and some of it can just be taught, right? I mean, I did a lot of studying about it over the course of time too, and a lot of reading. So, great question.
Anybody else got a question?
I'm scared if Natalie has a question. And I apologize for the noise in the background. My cat has found something to play with. Oh, it's one of the things from one of my new weights.
Ah.
Thanks to Natalie. Yeah, it sounded like she was playing air hockey in here all of a sudden. I didn't know what was going on behind me.
Ah, apparently Natalie said football's on.
Oh, right. It is Tuesday.
I don't think she's got a question.
Okay, so I have another question. So now that you had to move everything online, what's your favorite part about it being online?
Oh, that's easy. Is the people. That I get to work with people all over the world. Because, you know, I mean, all of you, like I would have never met all of you naturally, right? And to go and to have this conversation with you before would have been really hard, right? Like, okay, let me take off, you know, like 3 or 4 days and fly to England and have it, right? Like that's just not realistic.
No.
Right? For a 45-minute hour conversation. Like that's just silly. So you would end up batching a bunch of stuff. And but now, like, I can visit with people literally from all over the world. I mean, we're representative of 3 different continents in this call. And so I love that. That's my absolute favorite part. And figuring out how the where we're so much alike, and then the pieces that are a little bit different based on where we're from. Great question. I know one of Natalie's favorite things, I will ask her a question in advance for her, is one of her favorite things is the 10-minute blocks that I talk about all the time, is doing these little 10-minute blocks of time. And that's truly just like set a timer for 10 minutes, focus on one thing or one small set of things and get it done. And you can find 10 minutes in a lot of places around your day. And really be able to move forward. You know, I mean, you think about laundry, the dishwasher, you know, there's lots of things like that. That's like, oh, I don't want to do that. It's going to take you probably less than 10 minutes to do it. And throw on a fun playlist or fun podcast so that you can start associating it with something entertaining, something fun, something you enjoy, and then knock it out. So, and Natalie rocks the 10-minute blocks all the time. So
I have a question. So out of all the work that you do, what would you say your favorite type of work or type of project would be?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think it's like asking me to pick my favorite kid. So I'm gonna pick 2 because I've got 2 kids, so I can't decide. I will say that I really love my membership space because it is a space where these women come together, and not only have they grown in skill and confidence in how to organize and kind of how to kind of live their lives, but seeing them support each other and grow and kind of walk through some of the muck has been awesome. And at the same time, I love doing the really deep one-on-one work, you know, not necessarily the one-offs, but like where we're working together for a long period of time. I mean, I still sometimes work with one of my very first clients. I was 7 months pregnant and my daughter is 16. So, and she's, I would say, a recovered hoarder. And, you know, so seeing the progress, seeing how she can truly live now, and that transformation over time, and going through the layers. And, you know, I mean, it's so much of kind of what you do, Karen, is, you know, kind of peeling the layers, right? You know, you've got to peel the layers, and then, you know, they've got to kind of live with it and kind of reacclimate to kind of the new version of them. And then you peel another layer, and And those are really great, whether in person or online, to work with those long-term clients.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Great question.
Any other questions?
Who's my favorite kid? We don't talk about that.
My favorite kid.
Like asking me my favorite dog, except I do have a favorite dog, but
I was just about to say, but like that's just rude because I mean
I can't say it out loud. But
no, but we all know
he's
it.
my favorite dog.
Yeah. He's wonderful, so who wouldn't love him?
Oh, Ringo. Come on, you know which one, Natalie. Ringo is my favorite dog. Bella is just party pants.
Everyone knows. Everyone knows.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got one that's just a spaz and one that's just like a deep soul. So thank you so much for this, Karen. This was so much fun.
Yeah. What breed of dogs have you got there?
Roughly Staffordshire Terriers.
Ah, yeah.
So one is almost purebred and the other one is a mix. He's terrier, he's boxer, he's, I don't know, like they put all the dogs into a jar, shook it up, and then that's where Ringo came from. And he's big.
Yeah.
So yeah, but he's my heart.
It's your heart. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and he's my dog that speaks 2 languages. He understands English and Spanish. The other one barely understands anything.
So did he come from Spain?
she's we joke all the time. We're like, she's very pretty, you know. Not a lot in there. So but she's very pretty. So but yeah, no, but I love them both. So and they love each other, which is great news. And they love the cats. So yes, thank you so much, Karen. This has been so much fun.
Yeah, well, if there's no more questions, thank you very much for joining me for afternoon tea.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank
it
you,
so much.
ladies. That was lovely. Yeah, it's nice to connect with everyone.